Hey fellow yarn throwers, welcome back to my channel, and I've got a fun make with me video today. I've got this project, I've got some coffee, it's on the floor right now. The coffee's on the floor. The coffee cup that is containing the coffee is on the floor. And I've got a topic I want to talk about, which is bad habits. The fact of the matter is, we all have them when it comes to our knitting. We're human. We learn how to knit in some form or fashion from other knitters. Nothing we do is ever going to be perfect. But when we're first starting off is a very delicate time where bad habits can creep into what we are doing. So whether you are a beginner knitter or an experienced knitter, I'm going to talk about the top bad habits that it is best to try to avoid or possibly break. So hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, let me know what you're making down in the comments, and let's make together. As we get started, first of all, let me tell you what I am working on today. This is the Ethereal Sweater by Knit Equals Joy. This is a yoke sweater, so I'm knitting it from the top down, so up here's the collar, and I'm actually getting to the end of my colorwork section. This is a slip stitch color work pattern, which is really fun way to do color work because you only work one strand of color at a time, and these gray bars that are formed, kind of forming this honeycomb look, is all done with slip stitches. So it's a really cool technique. So as I pick up my needles, there is something I do want to say. Some of the things we're going to talk about today might be something in knitting that you do or you don't do. And I just want to say, I am not the knitting police. I don't think you're a bad knitter if you do any of these things. And if you don't want to change anything about how you knit, cool, don't. This is more just like, you know, food for thought, conversation, and just quick obligatory reminders that down in the description box, you're gonna find timestamps to different parts of the video. So if there's a piece of advice you're like, I don't care, don't wanna hear it, you can skip past it and enjoy another part of the video. Also down in the description box, you will find a link to this pattern as well as other resources I think might be helpful. Some of these will include clearly marked affiliate links. If you use one of my affiliate links to do some shopping, it earns me a commission, and that really helps support my channel. So if you utilize one of my affiliate links to shop, or you leave me a tip through Buy Mea Coffee or a SuperThanks, thank you so much. It is so greatly appreciated. It really helps keep me doing these videos. So, something I have seen online, both from people who hold yarn in their right hand like I do, and people who hold the yarn in their left hand, which I can do, I just choose not to. But anyway, but one thing that I see that if I knew somebody was learning how to knit, that I would really discourage is using the forefinger to push the left needle out of the previous stitch. I will see people in various forums complain about how their forefinger is so sore and what do you do? And my answer is stop using your forefinger to push your left needle because it can be irritating. And doing that also limits the types of needles you're gonna wanna use. For example, right now I am knitting with my HIghland sharps. I call these my zombie killers because they are so sharp that if I was in a zombie apocalypse, these are the knitting needles I would bring with me because they would, you know, they would draw blood. But the big reason why I think that using your forefinger to push is less than ideal is it's just an unnecessary motion. Now, I am not an expert in ergonomics, but I've done some reading and it seems like a common theme is that good ergonomics reduces unnecessary motion, and pushing your left needle with your forefinger seems like an unnecessary motion to me. If you look at the way I knit, and I will show you how I knit currently, how I used to knit when I first learned how to knit, and knitting continental, and you'll see in each instance, when I do this, I'm using my needles to do the work with the yarn. My hand works the needles. So this is how I knit currently. My left needle shuttles the previous stitch on and off of the needle. All my right hand is doing is wrapping the yarn. Now, the way that I used to knit, which is how most people learn how to knit English style, and I'm going to actually use my right needle to stab into the stitch, throw my yarn, and then I'm going to use my right needle to pull the loop of yarn through the other one, and then my right needle just pulls the old stitch off my left needle. There's really no reason for me to push my left needle with my forefinger because my right needle is doing the job of pulling at the yarn and the stitches to keep everything moving. And same is true for when I knit continental. And again, my right needle stabs into the stitch on the left needle, grabs the yarn, pulls the new loop through, and then pulls the stitch off the left needle. I don't really know how the habit develops of using the forefinger to push the left needle because, again, it's not something I personally have ever done. I have my suspicions though. I think it's because people have the stitches on their left needle like well away from the tip, right? And so then when they go to knit, the stitch is way back here, so it seems like it's too far to pull that stitch off, and so they push the left needle. So if you are a forefinger pusher, and you want to break this habit, this is my suggestion. Work on keeping that first stitch that you are going to knit into on the tip of the needle. And if it's on the tip of your needle, not only is it easier going to be worked into, it's going to come off the needle very quickly, right? You don't have to do a lot of extra work to drag that stitch off the left needle. And if you are a beginning knitter, don't develop the habit. Like, save your forefinger. So this one is something that actually I was guilty of when I first started learning how to knit. I would hold the yarn just sort of in my right hand, kind of thusly if I held it at all, and I would put the right needle in and I would wrap the yarn. I would take the right needle off, get my stitch off, and then I would give my yarn an extra tug. Why is it a bad habit to give your yarn that extra tug? I think it's a bad habit because, again, it's unnecessary motion. The reason I was doing it when I was a beginning knitter was because I lacked confidence in, frankly, my tension and what I was doing. I was fortunate that very early on in some book I had or some article I read, it mentioned that giving your yarn that extra tug was unnecessary, and it creates, this is the other reason why you don't want to do the extra tug, it can make your tension too tight. And the truth of the matter, the fact is that if you are holding your yarn, however you hold your yarn, if you are holding your yarn with enough tension to draw one loop of the thread through another stitch, then that is enough tension on the yarn for your gauge. The only other sizing for your stitch you need to be doing is with the needle itself and making sure that your needle, your new stitch gets onto the full circumference of the needle. That's it. That's all you need to do for your gauge. Are there times when maybe a stitch is a little loose for whatever reason? I do give it an extra tug, sure. But it's not something that is part of my regular motion. So yeah, again, if you are happy with your extra tug and you're happy with your tension and you're fine with how you are knitting, don't change a thing. Don't change a thing. But if maybe you are finding that your tension is too tight or it's inconsistent, or you're finding that your hand is getting tired really quickly and you've been giving your yarn an extra tug after every stitch, it might be worth exploring eliminating that motion and working on how you can tension your yarn in your fingers so that just the tension that you need to create a stitch is all you need to size your stitch. All right, end of the round. All right, let's see, 1, 2, 3, okay. Got 5 more rounds of this stitch pattern. Okay, this is a really, really good one that somebody mentioned and one I wholeheartedly agree with. and it's such a beginner thing to do, but I think it's very easy to continue doing it even past the point of experience. I don't know if I said that well, but anyway, I think here it is. Oftentimes when we're learning how to first knit or first learn how to do anything with like yarn wrangling tools, we have a tendency to hold our work with a death grip. It is like we are afraid that those needles are gonna fall out of our hands, the stitches are gonna come flying out, and we hold everything really, really tight. As early and as soon as you can, work on letting go of the death grip, relaxing your hands. Because the thing is, when we hold our needles and our yarn with a death grip, we're tiring out our hands faster, but also we're working with more tension. And if your tension is really tight, uncomfortably tight, it might be because you're holding onto your yarn with a death grip, or you're holding onto your needles with a death grip. You don't need to. You need to hold everything with just enough tension that things don't fall apart. When I teach how to knit, how I knit with lever knitting, I tell people to, imagine that they are holding their needle as if their needle is as delicate as an egg, right? You don't want to squeeze this and break the egg. You want to hold it with just enough tension that the needle is under control. Anything more than that is too much. Same thing with your yarn. Like my yarn, I do not hold my yarn with a lot of tension, meaning I don't grip onto it tightly. It is tensioned in my hands. My fingers act as a tensioning device, right? All this winding around my fingers is what creates the tension. So yeah, loosen the death grip. You really don't have to hold on to everything so tightly for everything to work together. And play around. Get a gauge swatch, get a swatch, around swatch. That's what I'm gonna call it. Get yourself an F around and find out swatch. It's just a swatch with some inexpensive yarn that you can play around with and try things. And with the F around and find out swatch, just practice like seeing how little tension you use in your hands in order to do the work. But if you're holding on to everything from a death grip, you're just wearing your hands out. And that's the thing that we're always wanting to avoid when we're knitting is unnecessary discomfort, all right? Because here's the thing, and I always say, in terms of being a good knitter, if you are knitting with consistent tension, unnecessary additional discomfort, because some people always have some discomfort and some pain because of things going on with their body, but you don't want to create unnecessary discomfort while you're knitting, and you're happy, then you're a good knitter, and that's all that matters. I am now going to break one of my bad habits, which is for knitting too long and not taking breaks. The fact is, when we knit, we are doing a fine motor activity and our hands get tired. And when they get tired, we start getting fumbly. I'd say it's a good idea to try to take at least a small break every 20 to 30 minutes. Put your knitting down, stretch, relax your shoulders, stretch out your fingers, get up, walk around, get some water. I'm gonna drink some coffee right now. It's one of the things that's gonna help protect your hands, it's gonna help protect your knitting. You're going to avoid having to tink and frog as often if you just take a couple more breaks. And I know it sounds counterintuitive, but if you are interested in knitting faster, one of the keys to knitting faster is to take more breaks. It's hard sometimes. Sometimes you're really in a headspace where you just want knit, 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 knit. Trust me, I have been there. It's hard sometimes, but trust me, your body's gonna be happier, your knitting's gonna be happier, everything is gonna be happier in the long run if you just take more breaks. All right, this last one that I'm gonna talk about is actually, it's different than the others. One of these things, it's not like the others. This is more about a mindset when it comes to your knitting, but it's also the thing I think I saw commented most often when I asked this question on Threads. which is don't be afraid to try things. If you see a pattern that you really want to make and you're like, oh, but I don't know if I'm ready for that, don't. Let go of that thought and try to make the pattern. Getting patterns and working things that you're excited about, you're gonna be excited about learning the new skill or technique that's being presented in that project. And this is how we learn and we stretch and we grow our skills. The worst thing that's gonna happen is that you attempt it, you are not ready for it, you frog it, and then you do something maybe a step back. But the important thing is you can then know what skills you're lacking, what it is that you don't know yet, and you can start learning those things and preparing yourself for the day you are ready for that project. So be adventuresome. Get the advanced pattern. Use the fancy yarn. This really doesn't have anything to do with this, but I'm gonna just throw this out there as an additional bad habit to break because I'm guilty of this bad habit too. We buy the expensive fancy yarn because we love it, and then we're afraid to use it because what if we use it for the wrong project? No, use the fancy yarn. Do the adventuresome project. Knit boldly. Be a bold knitter. Be as bold of a knitter as you want to be. But the point is, this is meant to be something that brings us joy and we enjoy it. And when we let fear kind of get in the way of that, we're really just stealing joy from ourselves. Don't steal joy from yourself. Be an adventuresome knitter. Use the fancy yarn. Do the advanced project. Do the things that excite you about this craft or whatever craft you're working on. Okay, so where am I? Well, I got through one round of my sweater, but this, let's see, what is this? It's over, it's like, how many stitches? Let me check the pattern and see how many stitches I've been working. I'm now at 580 stitches with this project. So yeah, one round takes me a while now, but I've gone through one round, started my next round. At this point in my project, I have to finish this last slip stitch repeat, and then I'm going to be on stockinette island. For 580 stitches and finger weight yarn. I'm starting to question the wisdom of the, no, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. I knew this when I started the project. I can always do headbands and side quests. It'll be fine. These are the bad habits I wanted to talk about today, but I'm sure there are other less than ideal ways to knit. If I didn't talk about your suggestion, or if you have your own bad habit, advice, tip that you want to share, like, please let me know down in the comments. This is totally a conversation that we can have past this video. And who knows, maybe I'll be inspired to make another video because this is fun. I like doing these kind of videos. It's fun to sit and knit with you all. I hope that you enjoyed today's video. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other yarn throwing friends. Liking, sharing, commenting are all ways that really do help support my channel and grow this community and keeps me being able to be on this platform. If you have not already, please make sure that you hit subscribe so that you know whenever I upload a new video or start a live stream, although I haven't live streamed in a while. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you may be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy making. Bye.